Okay, this is a very, very quick video for a guy that I watch called Leo. He's on Samson Boat Company um, YouTube channel, and he's restoring, well, actually rebuilding a big old wooden yacht, big old sailing boat. And it's my favorite channel on YouTube, right? And so he put a video up today. He's having some trouble with the local county, right? And I'll go into it. This might not be interesting for people that usually watch my videos. This is really more aimed at the people watching Leo and Leo himself. I doubt there'll be many that watch it from that channel, and I doubt Leo will watch it, but felt like doing the video anyway. Okay, he's got a problem, right? He's in a kind of residential area. Um, there's houses around him, right? But they're not packed in tight, right? So he's got this boat set up by the side of a shop that is his, workshop there, which is he's friends with the people that own this, right? And they've graciously allowed him to restore this historic boat, you know, in their sort of yard area, right next to their workshop, right? So Leo built a boat shed over the boat, and the boat shed consists of basically some 2x4 frames with some plastic over it. It's just a temporary thing just to keep the rain off, so he can work underneath, work on the boat while it's, when it's bad weather and whatnot, and keep the rain off so it don't rot the damn thing while they're trying to build it. Right, so he built this thing, and of course, there's always one neighbour, and the houses are fairly spread out by the looks of it, but there's always one neighbour that's a busybody, pain in the ass, grouchy, that has to cause trouble. Everybody else seems to be happy with what Leo's doing, right? Apart from one guy. So he complains. The county come by and say, well, you need a permit for that. And so Leo, being a nice guy, starts jumping through the hoops. He gets it checked off by an engineer. That probably costs him thousands of dollars. Comes to get the permit, and they want him to sign a form that will allow them to come in onto the property whenever they feel like they need to, and inspect and do certain things. Well, he's no spring chicken, Leo. He didn't fall for that one, and he didn't sign the paperwork, right? Okay, that was good, right? So he didn't sign that thing for the permit, right? He's jumped through all the hoops, but he's not going to allow them access whenever they want access, right? That's got nothing to do with getting a bloody permit for a building. Regardless of that, right? So that's his first problem, right? And of course, I think maybe because he's not signed that, now they're probably down at the the type of people they are. They're all high and mighty, and the egos are just spilling over, and they think that they are the law, which they're not. They enforce some rules and regulations for other men, is what they do. Men's rules is what they enforce. They don't enforce proper law, and they never will. And if you're one of those people watching this right now, you should be completely and thoroughly ashamed of yourself. And that goes for anybody that's in government that does this. So anyway, so they start on the next lot of hassle, which is they tell Leo that he's engaged in commerce, right? And that he can't be doing that, and I can't quite remember actually what was on the video about whether he needed another set of permits to be able to do anything commercial there as well, So they've started down that road now. Well, I don't think these people even know what they're talking about, because as far as I can make out, that is not anything commercial about it. What's happening is that Leo is earning money from his Patreon account, right? That he has on his YouTube videos, which he just happens to make about the boat that he's building. Well, because he's employing a guy to work on that boat as well, and I think he may employ a girl as well. He's got another apprentice down there as well. I don't know if what he's paying her or whether he's paying her or not, but whatever. He's paying one guy for sure. So now they've made a determination that that is commerce or commercial, right? I don't know how the brains work on these people, right? Because what a man spends his money on, right? He's earning money off making videos. Okay, coincidentally, it happens to be that the boat is in the videos, right? And he happens to be paying a guy to work on the boat, right? If I want to pay a guy to work on my house, and I happen to make like home vlog videos, am I all of a sudden now in commerce? No, I don't think so. I don't think so. You know, this is the way these idiots. I mean, I just don't know how the brains work on these people. I don't even know if they even have brains, to tell you the truth. Anyway, so, I mean, if Leo wanted to opt into that thing that is commerce, number one, he would have to opt into it. That's the first thing. You know, a bunch of guys don't get to come along and say, well, you're engaged in commerce, right? It's irrelevant if he's using Patreon, if he's collecting dollars, if he's paying anybody. It's irrelevant. It is completely irrelevant, because those things are put out there. Those are physical things that are put out there by the system, right? Once the things go into the physical world, they are out of the jurisdiction of the legal system. Once they exit the legal system's filing cabinet, the legal system has no longer have any jurisdiction over those things. You have to opt into be commercial. That's not to, I mean, already the person that they've generated, your little clone that you assume is you, is already commercial, technically. But if you want to go one step further, you have to enter that guy, and you have to, that guy into commerce. You have to enter him into it. Which he's not done, of course. And if it was there, then what would have to be happening, if he had entered into commerce, what would have to be happening is that that boat would have to be getting sold at the end of the project, when it come to a conclusion, when it was finished, which I know he's not doing, and that's not his intention. And I mean, he's stated that from the start. I'm pretty sure he's planning on going sailing for a while once he gets it built. So, it's not a commercial venture. There is no goal of making a profit from selling that boat. It can't be commercial. What they've done, I mean, this is how the system works, though. These people, they latch onto a little idea, and they don't even logically think it through in their own heads first. They just think, oh yeah, that's commercial because he's making some money and he's spending and he's hiring a guy. If I want to hire a guy to work on my house, that doesn't mean I'm engaged in commerce per se. I mean, technically, at the very foundational level, if you imagine the fictional person being commercial, then at the very foundational level, everything is commercial. But what we're talking about is this actual definition that they use for commercial. So, it just boggles. The mind boggles how they come to these conclusions. So that's his second problem now. They don't want him doing what he's doing because they deemed him commercial, and he's not permitted to be commercial, So now there's a whole bunch more regulations to follow, My advice to Leo would be, number one, you've got to decide how much hassle you want to deal with. That's the first thing you've got to decide. What is it worth? What's the hassle worth? Because they've already pretty much told you what they're going to do. They are out to shut him down completely. That's what they're out to do. Or at least make him comply with just a burdening amount of rules and regulations, right? So Leo has got to decide really how much hassle he wants to put up with. If he decides that he just doesn't want to deal with any of the hassle, I mean, the simplest thing would be to do is to try and find somewhere else he could move that boat to that is well out of the way of those people, right? I've already offered him my barn in the comments, but I think Kansas is probably a little too far to come. And it gets bloody hot here in the summer as well. You wouldn't want to be building a boat out in that heat. But so that's that's number one option, right? But that is a big hassle to move that boat. That is a really big hassle, and it's probably going to cost a lot of money. And he's got to then find somebody that's willing to put up with him for another. I don't know how long it's going to take him to finish that boat, but it's got to be another year or so at least. Maybe even a year and a half, I would have thought. Maybe even, dare I say, 2 years? I don't know. It seems like they're rocking on at a pretty good rate now. But at least another year. So he's either got to find somewhere, or the other option that the only other thing you could do is, if you don't want to deal with their BS, take the boathouse down, put you some tarps over that boat, because they can't say anything about a boat sitting there, and then basically build some kind of get some temporary poles on each end of that boat, so you can hoist those tarps up, and have those posts where they can drop down at night as well. So everything just collapses at night, right? You erect your 2 posts, you hoist your tarps up between those 2 posts, maybe tie them off somewhat, maybe put a couple of other temporary posts in as well to tie them off to. I mean, if then, what can they say about a 6-foot high post that's sticking in the ground? Nothing, Several of them around the boat to tie off your tarps to once your main tarp is up. And you have to, that's just something you could do. It'd probably take 20 minutes to put them up at the start of the day, half an hour to take them down at the end of the day. I don't know. That's maybe an option. That gets you out of the permit thing for the boat shed. And the second option is, if you really don't want to deal with having to go to the hassle of all the other stuff, say, I'm taking down the Patreon. And take the Patreon down, and then just say to your viewers, look, no longer have the Patreon. And of course, without the Patreon, he's probably not going to be able to pay the other guy, which would really suck. But I mean, that's the only other thing you can do. Take that Patreon down, and then say, look, have that mailing address scrolling across the bottom of the screen all the time or something. This is a mailing address where I'm happy to accept letters of encouragement, if you know what I mean. And then it's up to the viewers to kind of slip him a $5 bill or a $10 bill and put that in a letter of encouragement to him. So it's that would completely bring him out of that problem right there. That's the only way I could see him to do that. I mean, realistically, the county that he's dealing with, they don't really have a case against him. I mean, at best, you may have to, I mean, what I would do, this is what I would do in that situation. I would do what I said, take down the boathouse and just go tarped, right? It'll be a pain in the ass, but they can't say nothing about that whole setup then, right? And they can't complain about you using a bloody drill and a saw and banging around all day long. They can't say anything about that. So they're stuck there, but they will probably go on about the commercial thing again. And the thing to do there is to say, well, look, I make YouTube videos, right? And what I spend my money on has nothing to do with you, right? And if I want to spend it on a personal private project, it's got nothing to do with you guys. That's up to me if I want to have a contractor come in and work on my boat. And then make them prove that you are a commercial venture, which they will not be able to do, because they have to prove that you have an intent to sell that boat at the end of the day. That's the only way they can prove that you're commercial. They can say, well, you're making YouTube videos and that's going towards something, but the problem is, if to be commercial, you have to be making a profit. If you're not making a profit, if you're not intending on making a profit, it can't be commercial. I mean, if there's no intent to make a profit there, how can it be commercial? Just ask them to prove that you have an intent to make a profit. That's what I would do. And make them jump through all the hoops to prove that first, and say, well, look, you go ahead and prove it and take me to court and prove that that's what I'm doing. And then if that is the case, then I'll take my Patreon down. And then you just take your, when that happens, you just take your Patreon down, and you, if you want to jump through their hoops, you just take their you take your Patreon down, and you go over to the letters. You know, letters of encouragement. That's the advice that I would give Leo. That's the easiest thing that I can think that would help him. Now, if Leo really wants to deal with these buttholes, what I would suggest to him is a crash course in natural law. And for all those people out there that are posting comments that don't know anything about the legal system and they don't really know anything about natural law, I would encourage you to at least go and read the Declaration of Independence. Read the first few paragraphs of that. And if you can fathom what they're talking about there, then you'll start to get a hint of what natural law is, right? Natural law is don't do harm to anybody else, and basically another man does not have the right, therefore, to enforce any rules or regulations on you unless you have harmed somebody else. So as I see it, Leo hasn't harmed anybody, ergo nobody has a right to enforce any rules or regulations on the man. And it's just as simple as that. Once you know natural law, you'll understand where the jurisdictional boundaries lie between legal rules and the man, okay, and what the man has to comply with. The man has never had to comply with legal rules, never will have to comply with legal rules. But the problem is, the people that enforce those rules right now have a belief in their head that they have a right to enforce those things physically, which they don't. So they've never had those rights, and they never will have those rights. And so everything is assumptive on their part and on our part as we play along with their little tricks and games. I don't really know what else to say, because the problem is with natural law is you're going to have to sit down and take a minute to comprehend what the birth certificate is, what that really is, what that document really is, and what you really are. And there's a difference there. And you've really got to get a comprehension of what the legal system is and where the jurisdictional boundaries lie between the physical realm that we're in and the fictional realm, which is where the legal system lies. And the legal system does not have any jurisdiction over the physical realm, believe it or not. There'll be a lot of people scratching their heads at what I've just said. And if there are people interested in knowing that, I do have some older videos that you can go back and look at. Yeah, that's it basically in a nutshell. I can't think of anything else that would really help Leo apart from, but if you want to do the natural law thing, which overrides all legal mumbo jumbo, that is something that you could possibly do. You know, if it ends up going to court, if you know how to speak to the judge, if you know what to say to the judge, likelihood is that the judge will simply throw out the case. You know, I mean, the first thing you do, in court is say, well, oh, looky, Mr. Judgy Judge, I mean, there's so many things you could say to him straight off the bat, but the first thing you've got to do is say, look, when I talk to you and when you talk to me, all I'm hearing is common language. So let's not get any terms confused. That's the first thing. Number two, you're a man, I'm a man. We're both bound by natural law under God, okay? So I don't want any confusion with the legal goings on that you think that you're going to carry out here today. Secondly, if you are going to carry out any legal proceedings with said whatever your name is, you know, Leo, whatever, I want to see the birth certificate here in person. Where's the birth certificate before you even get into your nonsense? Because they can't produce the birth certificate because that stays in the filing cabinet wherever the births and records are. That's the thing that they're dealing with. That's the thing they have jurisdiction over. They have jurisdiction over jack squat when it comes to anything that's in your possession. So even the driving license or any other copies of documents or even any documents that are in your possession are yours. They have no legal jurisdiction over them, not unless you hand them back to them. They have zero jurisdiction over them. So that's the second thing. That's one of the things you say before you even get started. And as soon as you start mentioning natural law and that you're a real man and that he's a real man and that where's the birth certificate here, the thing that you have jurisdiction over, he's going to be thinking, oh, bloody hell, I don't want to be dealing with this today. What's the problem? Okay, dismiss it. This is, you know, a fallacy, you know, done with it. Either that or he'll just get up and peg it out of the room as fast as he can, because they can't handle it. They just cannot handle it. And they'll try the usual trickery. They'll try to come back with you with some trickery, you know. I think I'll cut the end of that video off anyway. Hope you enjoyed. I hope there's something useful there for people to suggest to Leo. If you've watched this video, if Leo sees the video, there's some things to think about there. I would definitely recommend looking into natural law. If anybody wants any pointers on natural law, feel free to look at my old videos and feel free to ask questions in the comments. Alright, cheers, I hope you enjoy. Bye.